Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Carla Goldman, and I have the honor to both direct the Jewish Communal Leadership Program at the University of Michigan and to welcome you to this celebration of our 2020 JCLP graduates. Some of you know of our tradition of beautiful JCLP graduations, and you might suspect that this year, as you can see, we're doing things a bit differently. Celebrating online is really a poor substitute for being able to be with each other, to hug each other, sing together, and pose for great family photos. But doing it this way does mean that we're able to invite a lot more folks to join us than would have been able to be with us in Ann Arbor. And I want to say it means so much to have you with us. I also want to acknowledge just how privileged we are to be able to do this in real time, if not in person. I don't think there are too many other sort of real-time graduations going on at the University of Michigan this weekend. But we know from our previous graduations how lucky we are in general to have a small enough group to be able to hear from each of our graduates and the importance of doing so. So this is really a very precious chance to savor the connection, even while apart, and to savor the community that has been honed over the last 2 years while we are still in some sense together. Some of you will have received and actually posted in the chat box a program for the next hour or so, but I just want to let you know what's happening. First, we'll be sharing a song, then some important greetings and introductions, and then we will hear from each of the graduating students. After that, I will offer some recognition and some gifts, and we will conclude with a closing song. But before I turn things over to Lauren, I do want to give a shout out. I don't know, Paige, if you're able to share screens quickly, to the many Star, Drockler, and JCLP alumni who are here with us online and who could join us this afternoon. Okay, field and supervisors and community supporters who are joining us today. And in truth, we could not have done this without you. I also want to just share a word of thanks to Beth Huppen, the director of the Project Kavod at Jewish Family Service of Seattle. Beth had the chance to work with our students last year, and her teaching so touched them that they invited her to be the keynote speaker for their graduation. Very well aware of the shortness of Zoom attention spans, Beth thought it best to forfeit her spot here today, but we want to thank her for agreeing in a pre-COVID era to make the trip to be with us. And we look forward to learning with her in the future. So with no further ado, let me pass things over to graduating JCLP student, Lauren Fine.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here together. My name is Lauren, and I'm here with
Sam
and
Hannah.
And don't worry, we are social distancing, but we also just happen to be roommates. Paige, if you could go ahead and put the lyrics up while I'm doing this introduction, that'd be great. So since we started JCLP, we've had a few songs that we've sung together when difficult things happen and tragic events occur, like the shooting in Pittsburgh last year. And these songs have helped us ground ourselves and be together as a community. So we'd like to start with one today and end with one today. And the one we'll start with is one I chose to teach the group this year at orientation. And as you'll notice, the lyrics are very relevant to this moment. The sick part, it was more figurative then, because there's always sicknesses to heal in the world, but now it's very real. And the Hebrew lyrics are even more relevant. They come from the book of Numbers when Miriam becomes sick with sa'arat, a skin affliction, and Aaron begs Moses to heal and purify her. So Moses says a simple prayer to God to heal her. El na refana la, God please heal her. And Miriam is sent out of the camp for 7 days in isolation before she can re-enter, and the people don't travel until she is returned. So as we sing this prayer of healing, let's imagine a world where our strength overcomes illness and we don't leave anyone behind, even in isolation. So we are your choir today, since there's 3 of us, so we'll sing it together. Please join us. Even though we can't hear you, we'll know that you're singing along. And if you don't know the song, don't worry, you'll catch on. We'll do it a few times. Ready, choir?
Yeah.
Okay. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. Ana Elna Refana la, Elna Refana la. Ana Elna Refana la, Elna Refana la. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. Ana Elna Refana la, Elna Refana la. Ana Elna Refana la, Elna Refana la.
Thank you for leading us in that beautiful song, Lauren, Sam, and Hannah. I'm honored to now introduce two incredible friends of our program to speak, the Dean of the School of Social Work, Lynn Videka, and Dr. Deborah Dash-Moore, an esteemed Jewish history professor of ours. Dean Videka is a strong supporter of the Jewish Communal Leadership Program. Alongside individual donors, the School of Social Work contributes significant funding to our program to provide generous scholarships for all of our students. This funding helps to attract bright students from across the country, whether nights or weekends, and despite her busy role as dean of one of the biggest social work schools in the country, Dean Videka always makes an effort to attend the events that JCLP puts on throughout the year. As JCLP students, our studies are both in social work and in Judaic studies. To represent the Judaic Studies program, we're honored to have Dr. Deborah Dash-Moore offer a greeting today. To make things as smooth as possible, Dr. Deborah Dash-Moore will be speaking immediately after Dean Videka, so I'm going to introduce her now as well. I had the privilege of taking 2 Jewish history courses with Dr. Deborah Dash-Moore. During my time in this program, I can honestly say that she makes learning about history fascinating and relevant to today. Deborah is not only extremely knowledgeable, but she has a way of making students feel comfortable contributing to class discussions. Even if a student is off track in their interpretation, Deborah will respond, I never thought about it that way. That's very interesting. Thank you for all that you do to support us, Dean Videka and Dr. Deborah Dash-Moore. Dean Videka, you can now unmute your microphone and begin.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Distinguished guests, family members, loved ones, and of course, honored Jewish Communal Leadership Program graduates, greetings. Welcome to the May 2020 University of Michigan School of Social Work JCLP virtual commencement. I want to congratulate you graduates for earning your MSW degree. We're very proud of your dedication, your achievements, and your resiliency. During this past semester, your last semester at Michigan, our lives have been turned upside down by the coronavirus epidemic. While you've endured disruption and uncertainty, you've also managed to adapt to adversity and change, and you've helped those without a voice to be heard. You've lived your social work values and your Judaic values in your field placements, in your lives, by showing compassion, by fighting against stigma and discrimination, by supporting and building the Jewish community and other communities in need, and by pursuing and completing your work despite disruption, and finally, by promoting healthcare equity that saves lives. This is not the graduation celebration that the JCLP program is used to having, but graduates know that you hold a special place in the history of the school and in our hearts for the courage, tenacity, and flexibility that it took to complete this term. May 2020 Jewish Communal Leadership graduates, you have earned the respect, gratitude, and admiration from the Michigan social work community, from the university, and from the communities that you've served. You are truly the leaders in the best, and we are confident that you are fully prepared to take on the challenges facing our world. Stay safe, go blue, and come back to visit when we can be in person again. Thank you.
So thank you, Ashley, for your generous and on-spot introduction. I feel very lucky to have known you for your whole career here at University of Michigan. First, I want to begin by thanking all of you for the honor of speaking today. I have had the chance to get to know some of you as students, and I feel really fortunate for that opportunity. Second, as Ashley said, I'm supposed to bring greetings from Judaic studies. Such a task is usually accomplished with great aplomb by Julian Levinson. His humor and wonderful stories, not to mention his superb delivery, are a hard act to follow and sets a high bar. Third, we are in this weird situation of doing everything remotely, transforming ourselves into faces with voices on a screen. It turns all of us into performers, albeit with a rather narrow constraints. Perhaps because of the coincidence of these items, Grace Paley's short story, Goodbye and Good Luck, has been on my mind recently. Paley was a post-World War II Jewish-American writer of fiction and poetry, someone definitely in Julian's scholarly purview. But she set her short stories in New York City, which places her within my purview. Her language was distinctly New Yorkish, often with Yiddish-inflected syntax. And she was an ardent feminist and left-wing political activist. Finally, in this day of pronoun specification, Paley used she, her, and hers. The title of Paley's story signifies a rather jaunty perspective on life. The phrase, goodbye and good luck, itself recurs several times in the story, which is a tale of an independent Jewish woman who is talking to her niece about life, one she lived on her own terms. Paley begins, and I quote, "In time to come, Lily, don't be surprised. Change is a fact of God. From this, no one is excused." Later, she writes, "Well, by now you must know yourself, honey. Whatever you do, life don't stop. It only sits a minute and dreams a dream." We are in that minute now, suspended by a virus, but marking time because life doesn't stop. And I think I'm here to urge you, in Paley's words, to sit and dream a dream. If we were all together in a room, I would adopt one of Carla's signature actions and give you each a copy of Paley's short story. However, since we are all on a screen together, I will instead wish you all goodbye and good luck. Mazel tov.
You switching to the first year students?
I don't have a slide for them. They were just going to talk.
Over the course of the past 9 months, we have had the privilege to work, learn, and grow alongside these 7 amazing social work graduates. Each one of you has helped us to become better students, and we are going to miss you so much next year. Back in August, the 6 of us came into the School of Social Work not knowing what to expect. But all 7 of the graduate students took us under their wings to help us feel prepared for the upcoming 20 months of our lives. From day one, we could see that this was a very special group to be a part of. You've shown us how to facilitate difficult conversations and become leaders in our own way. You challenged us with new frameworks surrounding the Jewish community, privilege, and identity, and social action that we had never been introduced to before. Although we will not be in Israel soon together, as we thought we would, our conversations regarding the Middle East have had a meaningful and lasting impact. The vulnerability and transparency you have evoked from each of us has made us stronger. Since orientation, you set the bar high, and we are ready to continue your lessons for the next cohort.
Our connections have grown from friends to family, even during these unprecedented times, both inside and outside the classroom. We have had the privilege of not only getting to know each other in seminar each week, but we have also enjoyed other events together, including Friendsgiving, Havdalah at Carla's house, and a jam-packed trip to New Orleans. And we are so thankful for these memories. Ashley, Hannah, Lauren, Megan, Nora, Sam, and Sarah, Mazal Tov on your graduation today. You envision qualities of curiosity and learning and questions that never stop asking, what can I do to make this world a better place? You're determined to stand up for what's right and demand a better future. It gives me so much hope to know the future of the Jewish community is sitting before us. By the words of Anne Frank, what a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives haven't even happened yet. And how wonderful it is that nobody needs to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Thank you, class of 2020.
Okay, now I have the pleasure of introducing my fellow classmate and good friend, Ashley Schnarr. When reflecting back on the past 2 years in JCLP, I don't know what I would have done without a friend like Ashley. Ashley is kind, charismatic, loyal, empathetic, dedicated, and extremely hardworking. She embodies a loving soul who's always willing to help others. I admire her incredible ability to make every person she interacts with feel special and valued. Ashley's smile is infectious and lights up every room she enters. This cohort would not have been the same without her, and I have no doubt that Ashley will make a difference both within our Jewish community and within the world at large. So Ash, I will miss our Munger hangouts, long phone calls, walks from home from class, hammocking in the diag, and every other adventure we took on together. But I'm thankful we'll only be a short drive away from each other next year. Congratulations. I can't wait to see all the good you do as an MSW. I love you.
Thank you, Sarah. That was so sweet. So I've been a combination of both nervous and excited for this day for a long time. I remember watching the second years who graduated from this program last year walk up to the podium of the ECC in the School of Social Work, so confident in themselves and their journeys, and so grateful for this incredible program. I have to say, I'm feeling a lot of those things, but this isn't how I dreamed this day would be. I should have been in a graduation gown crossing the Power Center stage yesterday, and I should have been physically with all my friends in JCLP sharing tissues and hugs. And we should have all had a stomach full of delicious Zingerman's brunch. However, as social workers, we are trained to use a strengths-based perspective. Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay, great, back at it. However, as social workers, we are trained to use a strengths-based perspective, to draw from the positives despite the challenges. And that's what we're all doing today, coming together to celebrate the 7 of us despite the circumstances. As Jewish professionals, we are taught the value of tikkun olam, or repairing the world. The world, our well-being, and the health of those we love seems so fragile now. We are all doing our part to repair the world by staying home to protect ourselves and the most vulnerable in our communities. I'd say we're doing a pretty good job at this whole Jewish social work thing, huh? Carla likes to give each year a theme. This year's theme is recalculating. Recalculating, as in you make a wrong turn and your GPS attempts to reroute you onto the correct path. For me, these past 2 years have been like hitting the home button on my internal GPS. I've had the opportunity to get more in touch with myself, with both my strengths and my areas for growth. I've developed new skills, had incredible experiences, and explored what I believe. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have grown with 18 incredible cohort mates between this year and last year, who are all making the world a better place in their own ways. I've had the privilege of learning from incredible educators like Carla, Deborah, Sue Ann Savis, and Katie Doyle. We've had enriching, challenging discussions in our seminar room and with Jewish professionals in Israel, New Orleans, and over Zoom. Now that I've honed my skills and clarified my values, I'm honored to join the ranks of the alumni of this program who came before me. I'm not yet sure what the journey that lies ahead of me will hold, but I'm confident I can figure it out even if I have to recalculate a time or two. Before I pass this over to Nora, I have a couple of thank yous to give. Thank you to Carla and Paige for everything they do to create a program so magnificent that it's hard to say goodbye to. I want to thank my parents, Dan and Sarah, for all their unconditional love and support of my education, and my partner Josh for listening to me vent and editing so many of my grad school papers, only complaining a little bit. And I want to wish a big mazel tov to my sister Hannah, who graduated this weekend from Michigan State University with her degree in education. All right, next up, we have Nora Greenstein. Nora, I remember the moment we met like it was yesterday. It was the first day of orientation, and I was anxiously excited. You were one of the first new people I met. I remember meeting you so clearly because I thought my outfit was so cute and unique, and I walked in and you happened to be wearing basically the same thing. It was a denim dress, in case you were wondering. Nora, you are beyond intelligent and driven. You are stylish, a perfectionist, and you refuse to back down when you know something is right. Your voice in any room is always one of perspective, reason, and passion. You're eager to connect with people and take an advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. You're a wonderful dog mom to Annie, and you know how to throw a great party, whether it's a football tailgate or a murder mystery party. I'm so grateful to have met you through this program, and I know we will be friends long into our futures. Take it away, Nora.
Thank you, Ashley. I've been having a really difficult time writing this speech. I didn't know how I should begin or how I should frame it. Should it be funny or sentimental or introspective? Should I start with a meaningful quote or a fun anecdote about the program? And I realized why it's been so difficult to start. To write this speech would be to complete my final assignment for the Jewish Communal Leadership Program, and it would mean saying goodbye. And that's just something I'm not ready to do. In a seminar in the first semester of JCLP, Harleen Appelman came to speak and shared something that I've held on to ever since. Before you talk about yourself, you must talk about your mentors and teachers. I've learned from incredible professors, guest speakers, colleagues, and cohort members who have shared their perspectives and led me to think in new ways and ask new questions. I'm incredibly grateful to all of these people who have helped me dive into Jewish communal issues in tandem with the world of social work, and it's my honor to express that gratitude to them here today. I'm grateful to the amazing professors in the School of Social Work and the Frankel Center who have given me new lenses with which to see the world. Through each unique perspective and pedagogy, I've developed new skills and language to bring my work and the ways in which I work with others. I'm grateful to Carrie Alterman and Ellen Yashinsky-Shute, my field supervisors, for empowering me and supporting me as I explored a new professional world and took on new challenges. Thank you for working with me and mentoring me through tasks big and small and helping me see how to carry myself as a professional in the field of social work. I'm grateful to my family who have supported me and allowed me to take on this path in my own way. I'm incredibly grateful to all my friends and to Ellie and Annie who have brought such joy and love into my life and always stood by me through difficult and stressful times in graduate school, reminding me to step back and take a breath when I get too in the weeds. To try and sum up JCLP in words feels nearly impossible. There's a certain kind of energy that exists in this community, and while I can describe the format of speakers, cohort discussions, site visits, and journal assignments, what I cannot describe is the feeling that exists during each of these activities. For this, I am incredibly grateful to Carla Goldman and Paige Walker, who work diligently to facilitate and create spaces for us to feel safe, engage in the local, national, and global Jewish communities, all while completing our MSW, and bringing those worlds together to show our impact as social workers on the Jewish communal field. Thank you both for encouraging me and challenging me and pushing me to expect more from myself than I ever thought I could. And more than anything, I'm grateful to the other members of the Jewish Communal Leadership Program who truly are what makes this program so special. Thank you to those a year above me who welcomed me in and helped me find my voice, and to those first years now who have allowed me to share what advice I've picked up along the way. And to the 6 other members of this year's graduating JCLP class, I have so much love and admiration for each and every one of you. We've been through so much together, from incredible joys to deep sorrows, programmatic successes and frustrations, leading conversations and asking questions, and meaningful friendships with memories to match. My experience in the School of Social Work would be nothing without the 6 of you, and I cannot imagine what it'll be like to not see you on a regular basis. I'm a better person and professional for knowing and learning with each of you, and I cannot wait to keep in touch and see the ways in which you make our world a better place to be. In our first alumni seminar in 2018, I wrote in my notebook, "What will life be like without JCLP?" Now, a year and a half later, I still have this question, but I feel a sense of comfort knowing that I don't actually need to have an answer. Whether we're together physically or virtually, JCLP is an experience that will forever impact my life and the way that I lead, and I don't think I'll ever really have to say goodbye. And it is now my great pleasure to get to introduce Hannah Berger, as it has been my great pleasure to get to know her over the past 2 years. When I think of Hannah, I think of possibility. I've never seen someone so willing to try new things, take on new challenges, and start with yes. When planning our communal conversation, our group could often spiral into conversations that turn towards what might not work, but we could count on Hannah to pause, help us reset, and focus on what we could do rather than what we couldn't. From Hannah, I've learned the importance of seeking narratives and histories less shared, to broaden my horizons of the lens through which I learn, and to not be afraid to try new things, stick with them when they get hard, and celebrate the little milestones along the way. While I'll miss her calm and kind energy in my daily life, I'm glad to know I'll always have her as a friend and colleague.
Nora, thank you so much. That was so sweet. And now it's going to be hard to give my speech because I'm emotional. But here we go. Hi, I'm Hannah Berger, and I had the privilege of being 1/7 of this incredible cohort for the past 2 years. In preparation for writing this speech, a memory came to mind. It was 3rd grade, and at my school, we were awarded points for the number of books that we read, which we could then cash in for prizes. The top prize was principal for the day. That year, I accumulated enough points for this high honor. But instead of being principal, I requested to be the guidance counselor for the day because the person I most wanted to emulate was Mrs. Ryan, our school social worker. Pursuing a social work degree as part of the Jewish Communal Leadership Program has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Trying to distill what this experience and these people have meant to me is difficult. There are so many things that I've learned, but what I'm most proud of is the community we've built together. The last 2 years in JCLP have been full of challenges, triumphs, and most of all, learning. There have been so many joyful moments, from our trip to Tel Aviv, where I finally felt like we bonded as a group, to celebrating Hanukkahs, Purams, birthdays, and Havdalahs together. There have been times when I've encountered loss and tragedy, both personally and as a community too. We've dealt with a lot in the last 2 years: rising anti-Semitism and violence towards Jews, school shooting scares, and now, of course, this pandemic. Through it all, I've had a community of brilliant classmates and friends to celebrate with, mourn with, and support each other. It's what's kept me motivated and grounded. JCLP taught me to embrace change and know that I'm not doing this alone. As social workers and Jewish communal professionals, I know we will always be adapting, always thinking creatively, and knowing that we are not competing, but contemplating a path forward together for all of us. I've been blessed by the best cohort. People who have challenged me, supported my growth, and become some of my dearest friends. I've learned so much from Carla, someone who is academically brilliant and conveys the importance of putting thought into action. I want to thank Paige too for all of her time and effort building this program. At a time of stillness, I've had a chance to slow down and really envision what I want the world to look like when we can all gather together again. I'll work to make our tent larger and not turn away from the ugliness and injustice in our world, but run straight at it and act in the best interest of those most vulnerable. I'll keep connecting, keep building bridges where I can, and trying to replicate the sense of joy and community that JCLP has given me. I will continue to discover what sort of Jewish practice is meaningful to me and make more time to connect with this noble heritage that I've been entrusted with. To close, I want to share a quote from one of my favorite songs by Nickel Creek, a band my family and I all love. The battle is over, but it's one of those endings where no one claps because they're sure that there's more. Sorry, I gotta hold Lauren's hand. What a great way to start the first day of the rest of my life. This is an ending in an experience that I'll deeply miss, but it's a unique time to start too. We're prepared, we're resilient. You know, resiliency can be crying too. We're strong, and we're stronger because we're vulnerable, and we have each other even if we're gonna be apart. To my cohort, my family, and my friends who are here virtually today, I'm really happy and grateful to be celebrating this next step with all of you. Yay, thank you. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing Megan Bernard. I can't tell you the number of times in the last 2 years I've said something along the lines of, I wish I could be more like Megan. She is courageous, with a boldness and critical eye that I admire. She has taught me to advocate for myself and that it's okay to challenge others when justice and equity are on the line. Through her example, I've grown bolder and more confident sharing my thoughts and somewhat controversial opinions. She's also warm and so funny. I remember last fall I had gotten a bad grade on a paper and was really upset about it. I just happened to run into Megan, who calmed me down, helped me put the experience in perspective, and had me laughing by the end. She is someone who is deeply loyal to her family, friends, and the causes and institutions she cares about. I've never seen a more pure love for summer camp than Megan's love for Kutz. She is also resilient and impressively juggles several different responsibilities. Megan is someone you definitely want on your team. I'm so grateful to call her my friend and colleague.
Wow, that is so nice. I did not pay her to say any of that, surprisingly. Mostly because social workers don't make a lot of money. Okay, that's it. That's the end of my jokes. First off, hi, I'm Megan Bernard. I'd like to acknowledge my family and friends who are watching from all corners of the US today. I'm so grateful that this unfortunate experience we're going through has allowed for even more attendees for our graduation ceremony. On the other hand, twice as many people are going to be able to make fun of me if I say something embarrassing or go off script, which I'm prone to do and have already done. Either way, I had a hard time putting into words what the last 2 years have been like for me in the Jewish Communal Leadership Program here at Michigan. A lot has happened over the last 2 years. There were lows, like when the Kutz camp, my home away from home, was permanently closed in 2019, and when the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting happened in Pittsburgh. And then there was COVID. But there were highs too. My mom, who has been fighting a battle with cancer, made a miraculous recovery and is able to be here today. And not to get political, but you know I'm super political. The 2018 midterm elections had record-breaking turnout, and more women than ever arrived in Congress in January. News that finally gave me some hope. And lastly, I got a job during a worldwide pandemic, which came in close second to my brother getting into medical school. My brother and I often remind our parents of what great children they have. The constant, though, were my close relationships with the other students in this program. The 7 of us spent at least 3 days of the week physically together, and were in constant contact almost 24/7 by email or text or WhatsApp or Zoom or Canvas or Facebook message. Our lives were intertwined and we learned and grew together. For example, when we first began, Sarah wasn't so comfortable sharing her voice in our seminar discussions, and I, on the other hand, learned how to rein myself in and not talk over people like Sarah. All joking aside, though, we learned how to travel together and create programming together and talk about some really hard things. Having a program like JCLP, where students from different walks of life are asked to talk about really deep, personal Jewish questions together, can be completely amazing and intensely frustrating. We pushed each other to think differently, to remember whose voices aren't in the room, and we supported each other through the process. Perhaps the most important lesson I've learned while in the Jewish Communal Leadership Program is that nothing is black and white. As social workers and as humans, we live in the gray and in the ambiguity. I struggled coming to terms with the fact that my Jewishness may be at odds with my drive for social justice. I learned just how hard Jewish feminists of the past and present have had to both push for what's right and step back and let other, perhaps more marginalized communities of the moment take the lead. I've learned that even in the most progressive of Jewish spaces, we have a far way to go in terms of salary equity and inclusion of someone we may deem as other. I look forward to a Judaism, specifically a Reform Judaism, that includes Jews of color, interfaith families, and even young Jews who have controversial views on Israel. And I hope to contribute to this more inclusive Jewish community of the future. I have a lot of people to thank for my evolution into a Jewish communal professional. Thank you to Sarah, Sam, Ashley, Nora, Hannah, and Lauren. I got so lucky having you as peers. You've been my closest friends, and I will miss experiencing grad school together. It's a good thing 2 of us will be in DC, so now you have to come visit us. Shout out to Nora. Carla, you are an amazing scholar, professor, mentor, author, and leader. You've built a program of excellence that has changed so many of us who have had the privilege of being accepted. I've learned so much about what's possible in the Jewish world and where our shortcomings are. I feel driven more than ever to make change in my own little part of the world and strive for something better. Paige, your support and excitement behind this program made it next level fun and meaningful. Thank you for the endless hours you put in to make our experiences better. And thank you to my friends Haley, Jake, and Diana. I'm sure they're like so excited I named them personally. They've been my biggest cheerleaders and my toughest critics over these past 2 years, and my best camp friends and real friends and all the things in between. I also want to thank my brother, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, and my grandparents who are watching. All of you have made the last 2 years back in Michigan such a gift. And finally, thank you to my parents. You've carried a lot of weight on your shoulders the last few years, and I'm so grateful and happy to have you here celebrating with me today. And to all of you I don't know, I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. Thank you, and forever go blue. Alrighty, the fun part, I get to introduce my friend Sam. I hope you're afraid of what I'm gonna say. Just kidding, it's all nice. I am so lucky to have met Sam. Sam is one of the most intellectual, deeply caring, patient, kind people I know. And he's extremely humble. I don't feel like I even know all the amazing things he's accomplished so far, let alone what he will accomplish once he's left here. Sam dares to do what's right and just, and he's a natural leader. He has so much to offer the world through his profession and his friendship. I'm also very proud to say that I had the high honor of being with Sam when he bought his first car. And since he bought the car in the fall of 2018, he has put 30,000 miles on it. He drove to Chicago and to California and to New York. No matter where Sam goes, he makes an impression, and he has the ability to bring a unique perspective to every conversation. And what I appreciate about him most is how different he is from me. Sam speaks carefully and calmly and thinks through what he's going to say before he says it. I, on the other hand, struggled the past 2 years to keep my sometimes controversial and off-topic comments to myself. Thank you, Sam, for being a great friend and colleague. Good luck in New York.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Megan, and thanks to everyone who's able to be on this call. I feel really grateful for everyone who's here. So there's this Hasidic story told about Rabbi Yisrael of Rizhin, who lived in the year 1800. And the story goes like this. A great student once went to this rabbi and said, "Rabbi, I love learning, but the moment I'm done learning, I feel really sad and I don't know what to do next. What should I do? What should I do about this sadness I feel when it's all over?" The rabbi thought for a moment and responded, "I want you to try to rethink what learning is all about. I'll tell you a parable. When a person is born, it's like they begin to wander around alone in a dark forest. But when they learn, it's like they finally found someone with a torch and they can begin to walk side by side with the person holding a torch." The rabbi says, the goal of learning isn't for you to keep walking side by side with this new person. The goal of learning is to have them light your torch so that you can go forward and find other people who are wandering in the forest alone. Maybe our graduation today feels so monumental to me because I've been wandering around in the dark forest for so much of my life. I almost dropped out of high school because of mental illness and drug use. And now I'm graduating from a premier university with an advanced degree that will help me support others going through some of the same things I went through and still go through. I wouldn't have come to this university if it wasn't for this program. This program has shaped me in ways that I didn't even expect. I came into this program like I come into all things in life, with skepticism. I came into, even the title of this program made me skeptical. Jewish community leadership, I've got mixed feelings about each of those things. But piece by piece, this community has chipped away at my skepticism. Whether it's a Margaritaville murder mystery party or an intense seminar about a topic that hit too close to home. This program and this community have supported me through my vulnerabilities in ways that I didn't expect. With that support, I've been able to open up and develop my voice in a way that I never have before. After 2 years, I know who I am better. Because of that, I now have a clearer vision for the communities I want to shape around me. And honestly, in so many ways, that vision looks a lot like the community we've built here. In this community, we find a way of challenging each other while still being supportive. And because of that, we're able to lean into the toughest conversations we can think of. We talk about power, marginalization, and justice. We talk about money, race, religion, and trauma. In this community, we know that difficult conversations are the ones we need to be having the most. We hold each other accountable to our values, whether those are social work values or Jewish values, and we hold our commitment to supporting people who are vulnerable, whether they're outside our community or within our own community. When I picture walking through the dark forest that the Hasidic rabbi talked about, I picture our cohort walking together. The torch we're holding is Carla's Havdalah candle. Jake is somewhere in the background strumming on the guitar. It's tough, especially at this moment of uncertainty in our world, to contemplate walking away from this comforting image and out into that vast, unknown, uncertain forest. But that's what we're tasked with. We're tasked with carrying forward the light of justice, of innovation, of care, and of vulnerability. JCLP, I'm so grateful for all we've learned together. I'm so grateful for the courage and the warmth you've given me. And as we head back out into this dark forest of uncertainty, I feel so much better knowing that my torch is carrying some of your light with me. Now I get to introduce our next graduate, Lauren Fine. There are two images I have of Lauren Fine, and how wildly different they are should tell you something about how special of a person Lauren is. The first image I have is of Lauren standing in front of a crowd of 1,000 people at the Ann Arbor Women's March. She's up on stage telling the story of how her grandmother was saved during the Holocaust by a group of lesbians. She's telling the story as an example of how our collective liberation is bound up in the liberation of all people. And she's telling the story as a plea for us to invest ourselves more in the movement for social justice. The other image I have is of Lauren screaming at the top of her lungs, tears streaming down her face as she cheers with a crowd of fans at a Jonas Brothers concert. To Lauren, these two images aren't in disagreement, and that's something we can all learn from. It's actually exactly this range and this approachableness that makes her one of the best advocates for justice that I know. I'm inspired by her intelligence, her charisma, and by her commitment to returning to her roots and building up Jewish community back home in the South. I can't wait to see what movement she's leading in 10 years, but in the meantime, we'll be cheering you all on.
Thank you, Sam. Oof, the accuracy on that one. I do scream and cry about the Jonas Brothers, that's true. Okay. Hello, everyone. So when I entered this program, I knew that I wanted three main things. I wanted to get back to school because I miss learning. I wanted to gain knowledge and skills that would help me do Jewish justice work. And I wanted a tight-knit cohort. Well, it's officially time to report back on those deliverables. So here's what I got. I spent the last 2 years being challenged and challenging others in the classroom, honing our critical lenses. I somehow developed a love of Jewish history, which I would not have put money on at the beginning of this, let me tell you. I discovered the field of social work and now believe that social workers can and should be running the world. I was given the opportunity to connect with Jewish leaders across generations, some of whom were responsible for making the Jewish community what it is today, and others who are pushing the Jewish community forward into something new. I got to protest for water access in Detroit and lobby for reproductive rights and gun control in DC. And I had supportive mentorship all the way through it. I got to be surrounded by Jewish social workers during some of the most horrific attacks against Jews of my lifetime. As others have said, we've been through a lot together. I got to hear words of wisdom right from the mouths of some of the greatest visionary leaders of our time, both Jewish and not. And we together as a community got to slowly develop our own vision for what we want the Jewish community to be. I now know that I want a Jewish community where no one has to question or forego any part of themselves in order to be fully Jewish and fully welcomed into Jewish spaces. I want institutions that are driven more by passion and love of Judaism than fear of continuity. I want Jewish communities that already understand themselves as multiracial, multi-ethnic, queer, and interfaith, and prioritize social change and justice for all marginalized people. Perhaps most of all, I want a Judaism that is fulfilling and irresistible. I know that Judaism has transformational power and can help us live, and I want every Jew to have access to that without reservation. I have such a better understanding of how much work and love was put into making my vibrant Jewish life possible, and why I feel called to make that life more accessible for others, and what it means to envision something even better than what we've been given. Because this world has more capacity for justice and wholeness than we think. That's what social work has taught me. The last item I have to report back on is the quality of my cohort. Having the privilege of spending 2 years developing ourselves and each other into this community of interdependent Jewish professionals and change makers is probably going to be one of the greatest joys of my life. These people have taught me so much about who I am and what kind of person I want to be. I could tell you all about their incredible qualities because they have many, but honestly, I just want them to know how much I love them and how grateful I am for them. They've had such an impact on me, and I'll cherish their friendship forever. I'm so happy to know that this group of people will be leading the community with kindness, compassion, and justice. So I want to thank them for being present and putting their whole selves into this experience. And of course, I also want to thank my family for supporting me and my partner, Jeremiah, for listening to me complain about work I procrastinated. Lastly, I want to thank the Detroit and Ann Arbor Jewish communities for embracing me. It's an honor to have had this community invest in me, and it's a gift that I will continue to benefit from and will not soon forget. And now the fun part. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Sarah Weinfeld. If you don't know Sarah, the most important things you need to know about her are that she loves country music and she's a top fan of Ellen DeGeneres on Facebook. When I came to social work school, I admittedly still didn't really know what social work was. And Sarah has been one of the people who taught me what it means to be a social worker and to be really proud to be a social worker. Sarah is the only one of our distinguished graduating cohort who studies micro-social work or interpersonal practice. So that means she spent the last 2 years constantly reminding us to zoom in and consider the micro level, which I'm so grateful for. She treats every person as an individual instead of just a piece of a system, and that's a perspective that I've greatly benefited from. Sarah also has a love of children, the people in our communities who need the most care, and elders, the people in our community who deserve the most respect. And this is so perfect for Sarah because she has an incredible capacity to give care and respect to others. Sarah makes me wish I could be a kid again so she could be my school social worker. Sarah, I love you and I'm so grateful to know you. Congratulations and take it away.
Thank you, Lauren. That was so sweet. Okay. Ever since I was little, my parents collected all of my artwork, memorable awards, and school projects. They labeled the large blue bin Sarah's Childhood Things. Recently, I went through this large bin to decide what I wanted to keep and what I no longer needed to hold on to. I found a scrapbook that I had made for my 9th grade English class. On one page it read, "My dreams." There were several dreams I had listed, and the majority were optimistic and unrealistic goals I had set, such as meet my favorite TV show cast. While these dreams have not been accomplished yet, one dream has. The last dream I had listed was to become a therapist. Now, years later, and after completing my master's in 2 years, I am finally living out my dream. I am a clinical social worker, and I look forward to working with clients and making an impact, just as ninth grade Sarah had wished for. For me, it was clear early on that social work was my passion. During undergrad, I declared social work as my major for a short period of time, but got nervous that I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life at 18 years old. But the truth is, I was right. I love helping people. I want to make a difference, even if it's just in one person's life, and I know I can do that through social work. I often found it difficult to find my place within clinical social work and the Jewish community, as I felt my professional goals and wishes had not yet been developed within Jewish spaces. Throughout JCLP, I realized how similar the client-social worker relationship is to the Jewish community. As a social worker, listening to your client and helping facilitate interventions and coping mechanisms are crucial. Our role is to not fix people, but rather help them realize their own strength and abilities to accomplish their goals or objectives for our time together in therapy. As a social worker, creating a professional and safe space where our clients are comfortable sharing and being their authentic self is so important. As a Jewish community, it's so important to foster this same openness and comfort. As someone who attended Jewish day school for 13 years, was involved in BBYO, various Jewish agencies, and Jewish summer camp, I've never been in a Jewish space quite like JCLP, a space that fosters and encourages everyone to think outside their comfort zone, a space that encourages people to have difficult conversations on various topics within the greater Jewish community, a space that allows 13 students from various backgrounds and work experiences to come together and create a community. While my time as a student in JCLP has come to an end, I have developed more knowledge, skills, and perspectives that will allow me to better serve the greater Jewish community. I hope to continue to have these difficult conversations, and I hope to ensure that the Jewish spaces I am in foster comfort and safety for all community members. I will miss our seminar room, the long table we all sat around each Wednesday at 5 p.m., and specifically my cohort, who are not only intellectually challenged me and pushed me to be the best I can be, but are 6 friends I know I'll have for a lifetime. I am forever thankful that JCLP brought the 7 of us together, and I know that my time in JCLP would have been significantly different without each and every one of you. I want to thank Carla and Paige for all their hard work and dedication to this program and to specifically our cohort. To my extended family and specifically my grandparents, both those who are here today and unfortunately to the 2 I lost this year, thank you for always believing in me and being proud of me no matter what. And lastly, to my parents and siblings who have been my biggest cheerleaders and role models, who have always believed in me and supported my dreams. Thank you. I wouldn't be where I am today without your love and support. So, looking towards the future, I hope to be the best social worker I can be, and that's the dream that I'll continue to keep striving for.
Okay, so I think it's my turn again. Thank you all. I'm so grateful for the way that you have all spoken and what you've been able to share, not with those of us who already know you, but with this community and help them understand what it is that we try and do here and what you have done. And every year, as we approach this ceremony, I look at that story, that perfect story that Sam told. I didn't find that one, but I realized that my text actually was right in front of me. And the folks that you see spread often reflect, as some of you have, on how the kind of Jewish community they were seeking within the, I want to say that I too see the community that I'm hoping for in these students. So every year, I select books for each of our graduates as a way to reflect upon their strengths and their interests. This year, since we can't certificates, as a symbol of both their accomplishments and our esteem. In reflecting these students, these books also reflect the values and insights we will need if we are to move forward into the creation of the better world that we imagine can be. As you've listened to these graduates individually, you may have imagined just how extraordinary it has been for them to come together in one space, in one conversation, each one strengthening their own voice and possibility as part of this amazing group. Together, they possess the collective superpowers we need to match the challenges of our time and this moment. So most of you should have gotten a package in the mail. You should have it with you, and hopefully you have not opened it yet. Do you have the superpower to open it? We're going to start with the importance of questions. And Sam, this is to you. It's an old joke that Jews always answer a question with a question. But thanks to Sam Langstein, we have grown accustomed to the kind of engaged and deep inquiry that helps us see the world with new eyes. Hang on. Okay. Thanks, Paige. Can we go back to just the people? That's great. So that's our beautiful certificate. You'll get that eventually. We'll sign them. Okay, now my eyes are, okay. Again and again, we have grown through Sam's questions. Not only has he made us all rethink how we categorize, respond to, and empathize with the ultra-Orthodox community, he has also asked us to dig even deeper, ever deeper, as we consider the complexities of Jewish communal privilege and vulnerability. I have spent many, many hours pondering the questions that Sam has pulled forward from our in-class conversations into his journal. He has pushed me and all of us to review our assumptions and our certainties, always reminding us that we can do better. So Sam, if you'll take out your book. You'll find the first volume of the Diary of Mordecai Kaplan, titled Communings of the Spirit, edited by Mel Sculpt. Mordecai Kaplan's reflections and questions in his diary offer an almost ethnographic account of the Jewish world that he was in. In his saw before him. More than almost anyone, Kaplan tuned to the foibles and the pathos of communal Jewish attempts to respond to this challenging world. And he did what he could to imagine and then create what an engaged, embodied, compelling Judaism would mean for coming generations. I have no doubt that Sam is going to be a
Carla, I hate to tell you, but you're glitching in and out. Maybe you might want to call in on your phone so we can hear you better.
Or maybe just mute your video so we just have the audio.
What's doing it? Hear what I had to say to Sam? Yes, no?
Most of it, not all of it. That's what's. So why don't you, there's a call-in number and you can mute yourself on here and you can speak into the phone.
Right, let me try that. Hang on.
Do you need me to send that to you, Carla?
No, I have the
it should be in your invite as a panelist.
Well, yeah. Let me try it this way.
Sam, while your book.
Here's a copy of my book, Communings of the Spirit. This graduation has turned into a show and tell.
Also, I want to kind of like clap back to what Ashley said about social workers being adaptable. And so this is just part of the process, and we just lean into working with technology, and it's both wonderful and has its challenges too, and just shows that we're all human.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you
Yes.
through your video, but not your phone.
I know it that, so sorry everyone.
You can also call me and I can put you on speakerphone and then we can hear you through my video.
1 second. Should we try that? Okay. Do I have you, Megan?
Yeah, you should have my phone number. I text you often. But you'll have to mute your video.
Okay, here we go. Let's try that.
Okay, Carla, go ahead and speak and see if we can hear you.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear me now? Excellent. All right, how about that? All right, I'm going to try and make it right in the house. Hang on.
As my beloved Kuds Camp director used to say, or maybe someone else, but I'm gonna give her the credit. She used to say her favorite F word is flexibility. So thank you for being flexible with us.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Let's try it, people. So what my life on Zoom is, okay. So should I run back through that for Sam again? I'm so sorry.
Yes, I think so.
All right, it's just about the incredible devotion to challenging us, the kinds of questions he's made us think about, many of which he shared and what he had to say. I chose the book of Mordecai Kaplan's Diarying for him because Kaplan looked at the world in transition that he was a part of and asked all kinds of questions about it in the most engaged and thoughtful and compelling way, and was attuned to really the pathos of and the foibles of the ways in which his own institutionalized Jewish community was trying to adapt to that world. And he responded by imagining and then creating what an engaged, embodied, and compelling Judaism could mean for coming generations. And I know that Sam already has become a continuing player and actor in that process. And we'll do honor to his forebears like Kaplan, who asked those questions. And I'm glad that he's in that work. Okay. So let me turn to Megan. With Megan, the superpower that I want to talk about is that of community. Megan came to JCLP with a faith in the power of community, honed by her experience in the Reform Youth Movement, and particularly at Kuds Camp, which sadly, as she mentioned, was decommissioned during the course of her time in Ann Arbor. But even if the camp was no longer to be, Megan's commitment to the community it created only intensified over the year of its shuttering. And these events have deepened her commitment to helping communities approach the difficult choices and disappointments that will confront every organization at some point, but with the idea that they can respond with humanity and integrity to such challenges. She has chosen to dedicate the next phase of her professional journey to the Moshe House movement as their Mid-Atlantic community manager. So if you open your book, Megan, there it is, Empowered Judaism by Eli Confer, What Independent Minyanim Can Teach Us About Building Vibrant Jewish Communities. It describes one path towards reimagining community. And I know that in working with Moshe House crews from DC to Toronto to Cincinnati, Megan will be part of imagining many more. So even as we imagine new communities in formation, this is not at all the time to dispense with the important ways that American Jews have been creating and serving community for the last 100+ years. The book that I've chosen for Sarah Weinfeld relates to the origins of the Jewish Social Welfare Network, which at a time like this, or as we learned, happened in New Orleans in the wake of Katrina, that network emerges more importantly than ever. Right now, organized Jewish communities like that in Metro Detroit and Ann Arbor are marshaling their resources so that they can continue to support the most vulnerable, and really showing us and demonstrating why we should support these networks even in times not of crisis. Sarah is committed, as you heard, to the social connection and care that has defined so much of the Jewish communal story in America. For Sarah, I chose one of the lesser known novels by the immigrant writer Anzia Jezierska, who is best known for her novel, The Breadwinners, which is a poignant view of the complexities of the cost of becoming American. The Arrogant Beggar, published in 1927, offers a scathing take on the kind of self-satisfied benevolence that characterized much of the established Jewish community's approach to charity, as they tried to erase what they considered ghetto customs and behaviors among the new immigrants. Jezierska believed that true social welfare should be practiced with equitable regard for the shared humanity of the giver and the beneficiary. These central questions that shape the beginning of modern social work will carry over into the questions that Sarah will center in her own social work practice going forward. In thinking about the complications of philanthropy, historically and today, we turn to Nora Greenstein, who completed a field placement with the Davidson Foundation in Metro Detroit and will soon move to working for the Schusterman Foundation in Washington, D.C. It feels like a tremendous testament to Nora's insight, priorities, and commitment that Schusterman has chosen her to deal with the work of tuning its programming to the full range of diversity that constitutes today's Jewish community. Toward that end, we have gotten Nora. Judaisms, a 21st century introduction to Jews and Jewish identities by Aaron Hahn Tapper. Thinking sharply about what it means for the core players in the American Jewish ecosystem to adjust to understanding our community as much more diverse than they have grown accustomed to thinking it is, has been a major focus of our group conversations. And we are all excited that Nora gets to pick up that work at such an influential locus of communal support and possibility. Congratulations, Nora. Hannah Berger entered JCLP frustrated with a Jewish community which too often dismissed or ignored too many American Jews who didn't meet its standard of belonging. A big part of her work here has been to advocate and learn about those, advocate for and learn about those not always seen, and to think about the true variety of Jewish regional, religious, and ethnic identities. Building upon her own desire to be seen, she is committed to ensuring that the many varied backgrounds and histories that define Jews today are honored and that all are empowered to contribute. In her package, Hannah will find this exquisite memoir by Andre Asselman, which out of Egypt, which describes both the rich texture of Asselman's family history in Alexandria and the rupture he and his family experienced when they were forced into exile. I know that you'll enjoy that. As we turn from deeply engaging the diversity of Jewish experience to the importance of bringing those experiences into dialogue and interaction with the broader societies of which we are a part, I want to turn first to Ashley and finally to Lauren. Ashley Schnar, as you saw, overflows with goodwill, positive energy, and an ability to do the hard work and ask the hard questions that are necessary in our society. In her field placement, she found, like many before her, that those qualities in themselves were not quite a match for the challenge of reaching across differences of culture, privilege, and access in the effort to build a more inclusive and meaningful multiculturalism. But she stuck with it, seeking out points of connection, learning where vital inflection points might be found, and beginning to build those fragile bridges of connection. Her book by Mark Dollinger, Black Power, Jewish Politics, Reinventing the Alliance in the 1960s, will deepen your sense of the long history of the complexities of navigating and building vital communal relationships today, which we know you will bring to your work with the Detroit Jewish community as you help them reimagine their own communal possibilities. Finally, for Lauren, and I left the book upstairs because I know you haven't received it yet, so blah. I chose a book, though, about someone who is just like her, who carried the banner for Jewish work for societal social justice centered at home in North Carolina. Leonard Rogoff's biography of Gertrude Weil tells the story of the first woman from North Carolina to graduate from Smith College, class of 1901. And Weil then went home after graduation, very quickly after graduation. She went home to Goldsboro and proceeded to work on every social justice issue for the next 70 years, ranging from suffrage to civil rights. Lauren is headed back to North Carolina too soon, tomorrow or the next day, carrying a passion for social justice through a Jewish lens and for making a difference at home. Like Gertrude, I have no doubt that Lauren will seize the chance for the next 60 or 70 years or so to lead in manifesting her commitment to place, community, identity, and possibility. So watch out, North Carolina. So there you have it. Here's our text for the worst and the best of times. Courageous, honest questions about who we are and what we can be. Appreciation for a community committed to taking care of its most vulnerable. Dedication to building a community that honors its own diversity and the depth of the many stories and histories that define its members. A willingness to lean into the complexity of cross-cultural relationships to build meaningful alliances with always an overarching awareness of the operation of both privilege and vulnerability and shaping the role of Jews in building a better, more just, more hopeful world. For all the richness of what it has meant to brew these particular superpowers over the last 20 months, we're aware that we're leaving shortchanged. While we've been able to have a slightly glitchy, but rich and meaningful graduation here, there are just some things that you can't do on Zoom. Zoom couldn't provide us with the amazing and courageous day of learning, challenge, and connection that these students' planned communal conversation focused on Jews and money would have brought. It can't give us the time and shared experience that we were going to have together, leaving for our planned trip to Israel and the West Bank. Tomorrow night we were supposed to go. If it's okay, Nora, I'm going to share something that you wrote in your last journal entry that really struck me. That what we're experiencing is like having the last chapter of our book ripped away from us. And that in the end, we'll never get to know what that ending could have been. Even, I would say, if this afternoon has given us back one last precious page. I would note, however, that in any well-constructed tale, the ending ultimately emerges organically, if sometimes surprisingly, from what has come before. So I realize, as some of you have suggested, that we do know what we would have found at the end of our book. More questions, engagement, and growth, informed by the trust, love, and connection that has been so painstakingly built over 2 years with the cohort that came before you and the one that is following you. Yes, the last few months have offered us a much paler reflection of what we could have been. But I know you are all beautiful and strong. In truth, the ending has not yet been written. I know you will write it. I am looking forward to the next 70 years or so as these alumni join their predecessors in continuing this narrative. I know it will emerge in a fashion that will bring credit to themselves, to the Jewish community, the School of Social Work, the Jewish Communal Leadership Program, and the University of Michigan. So go blue. Now, just as a number of you shared, I hate to end this because it means we're soon going to have to hit leave meeting, but without even getting the chance to enjoy some bagels and lox together. I want to thank you for everything that you have brought to our work over these 2 years. It's been a gift. And I now need to turn it back to Lauren. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Carla. That was so beautiful. We're so grateful to have those words to close out this meaningful time. Paige, if you could go ahead and put up the lyrics for our last song. We want to dedicate this one to the previous graduating class because this was sort of like our song together that we sung a lot during difficult times last year, and also just to feel like we were together and hear all of our voices. So again, the choir will provide the song, but the words are here, and we'd love for you to sing along. And even though, again, we can't hear you, we know you're with us. You ready? Okay. Ozi vezimratya vayehi lishua. 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 I kind of felt like I could hear you all somehow. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.